Rocket News. I'm here with a cross-functional team of Rocketeers to talk about empathy, in particular, 3 ways to serve with empathy during COVID-19. So we're going to start with Calvin. Calvin, tell me a little bit about ways that you're thinking of being of service during this time.
Thanks, Rajesh. So as a leader of our organization, I have to ask myself every day, what's the most important thing? One of my favorite quotes is, the most important thing is to keep the most important thing the most important thing. That's essentially my job description. And that important thing right now is meeting our stakeholders where they are, whether there are employees, Rocketeers, whether there are our customers, clients, partners. You need to meet them where they are. And to do this, you need to know where they are, which means you have to have a very human-centric approach. Now, note, I didn't say user-centric, because a user-centric approach or customer-centric approach, you usually think about the space and the relationship in between you, the brand, and the customer. But that's just a tiny slice of their entire life. To really activate empathy down to the human level, you need to have a human-centric approach. Focus on them as a human and in all the things around them. And one of the ways that you can, or that I've been starting conversations with a lot more empathy, is starting them in a very human way. It's so easy to like jump it from video conference call to video conference call without remembering to say, how are you? How have you been? How is your family doing? What's been going on in your life? Things like that. And then it's really important to understand that, as a leader, you can't waste a good crisis. And so we're using this opportunity not to wait it out, but to lead our way out. Because COVID-19 is not a pause, it's a reset. A pause implies we go back to the way we were doing business before, but we don't believe that to be true. We think it's going to take a lot of pioneering and leadership to lead our way out of this into a better future.
Thank you. Yeah, no, a human-centered approach, a person-centered approach, that is definitely leading with empathy. Joslin, maybe you could give us perspective from a customer client. What are you seeing and what are you practicing in that area?
Sure. So what we're doing in the client success department is we're really talking about being authentic with our clients and providing even more value than we have in the past. And by this, I mean very simply, stop selling and start listening. It is so important for us to understand the day in the life of our clients at this time. It's changed. In the past, they may have been totally focused on their product and taking that to market. And now we're finding that our clients are having to spend a lot of time figuring out how to operationalize and get through this with the reduced staff, with changing requirements, with changing consumer needs. And so it's really understanding how we can help them right now that's completely different than anything else that we may have thought was the right move for them in the past. So with that, I say you listen to your clients, you absorb what they're saying, you find the right pain point to attack and address, and then find a key opportunity for Bottle Rocket to provide real value in solving that problem. And then I would say, above all, just be available to them at all times because they are running fast. They are just like us, going from meeting to meeting to meeting. And when they're home alone at night and something's keeping them up at night before they can go to bed, they need someone to reach out to. So just being available to our clients 24/7 has been hugely appreciated by them. And we really develop those deep, longer lasting relationships when we can do that for them.
Thank you. It's so funny you say meeting to meeting to meeting. I know that's my life too, and it's Zoom to Zoom to Zoom, of course, because that's today's meeting. And as you know, one of the interesting things that we've begun to practice at Bottle Rocket is trying to end all of our Zoom meetings with 5 minutes left in the hour or in the half hour. And I have to tell you, that has made the world of difference for me to be able to go and get a glass of water or just reset before looking at another screen. So anyway, Andrew, how about you from a market perspective? What are you thinking? What are you seeing? And what are you practicing from an empathy and customer centricity and care perspective?
It's so interesting. In 25 years of doing this, there's always this natural tension between selling something to somebody and exchanging value. That's in normal times. In these sort of abnormal times, I found myself over the last several weeks really thinking about this common denominator that sort of binds all of us. All of our stakeholders are in their home offices, they're in their dens, they're living just like us. And so more than ever, and while we should always be acting with some level of vulnerability or trust or openness, right now we're all sort of operating on the same playing field. And so I found that the conversations that I've been having echo a lot of what Calvin and Joslin have mentioned here. It's just a moment where you can speak real truths with people that need to be part of a community. They need help. They may need the help of our company. But in a lot of cases, I'm finding that the conversations that we're having are just naturally very open and very clear. And I just shared last evening with one of our customers that I was really appreciative of the proactive communication and transparency that they were acting with. And like, we don't always get that. And so in this time and in this place, everybody is sort of playing on the same playing field. And that's super interesting to me.
Thank you. Do you think those characteristics of vulnerability and authenticity, like Joslin was speaking of, and truth and transparency and care, do you think that this is something that will exist in a post-COVID return to normal or a new normal? Like, is this something that will be lasting, or do you see this as like just a temporary situation?
I sure hope it's going to be a lasting thing. I think that a lot of people will act the way they act, and certainly, there are different camps there. But I do think that healthy organizations that promote that pre-COVID will still continue to do it post-COVID. And I find that those relationships are the most healthy. So it just depends.
And Joslin, from your standpoint, you're looking at quite a broad set of customers and clients for Bottle Rocket across a variety of industries. Do you think about tailoring your conversations based off of the industry that you serve?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the way you get into that authentic conversation with your clients, right? It's coming to them with a perspective and a POV that is relevant to what's happening in their industry today, whether that's through doing some research on how the competitive set is handling COVID, whether that's some internal thinking that our teams have been doing on behalf of our clients, understanding where those pain points are. I think you absolutely have to walk into those conversations, especially now with a super specific, authentic lens and understanding of what their challenges are. Or, they're going to tune you out, and they want to know that they're spending time with someone who's bringing them value. And so that's what we're really, really focused on when we do get time with our clients, because it's so rare right now to be able to have long spaces of time with them. We just want to make sure it's extremely valuable.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. I know from my own perspective, as I'm speaking to different people, it is interesting to hear how some businesses have experienced acceleration and others just a total, almost not even disruption, but pause. And, to your point, the authentic conversations begin with that deep empathy for meeting the person where they are and the business where it is. So, I know empathy is something we do at Bottle Rocket across all of our practice areas, and we talk a lot about human-centered design and that idea of being empathetic to uncover problems. Calvin, maybe you could sort of give us 5 things to be an empathetic leader. Like, how do you think about that from a leadership perspective? Because we're all leaders, whether that's in our team or in our home or in our community. Calvin, over to you.
Well, first you have to stop. And stopping is actually a hard thing to do. You have to slow down to be able to go fast later. So taking a pause to be in the moment so you can be with the other person. The next thing is to delay reaction. Instead of reacting to the other person, just take it in and instead actively listen. When you actively listen, you ask questions, you say things like, "That's very interesting. Can you tell me more about?" "I've never thought about that. how did you get to come to that conclusion? Those sorts of things. Essentially, you're opening doors for them to walk through deeper and deeper, because they are opening up a world that you cannot see, because that world is all around them. They can see it, but you can't. You also need to be vulnerable. Never try to weaponize empathy. Never try to weaponize empathy. To be truly empathic, you do need to be vulnerable. You need to have a proof point that you're willing to be vulnerable and you are vulnerable in the conversation. And then finally, when you have that, when you've really figured out what will make that person's life better, act on it, pioneer, innovate, take action. Don't just write it down. Don't say that's something that's great to do. Once we come out of the quote unquote crisis, it's time to take action. It's time to pioneer now.
Thank you very much, Calvin. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for being on Bottle Rocket News. This has been another edition. We look forward to seeing you all again next time.